Levi here, welcome to the channel. We've got some discussion about arches today. So this video is going to be about addressing what to do if you have a high arch or a fallen arch. They're dealing with similar muscles, actually the same muscles, but doing either one of two things. So this is going to be foundational because we're literally dealing with a foundation. So already, based off the other videos that you hopefully have done in this series, we'll already have begun to level your hips, create good alignment going down from your hips to your knees, into your feet from the last video. And now this one is really setting that foundation or really rooting you into the ground. And with this last piece, once it's done, all your lower body should be feeling really good and setting the stage for everything up your torso, up your spine, to now begin to have an effective accessibility for changing patterns. So with that said, I'm going to take a seat in this chair, talk a little bit about anatomy. Now, the first thing to know about what's going on when you have an excessive arch or a flat foot or a fallen arch is the major player, the major component in creating that is actually a tight calf. And we stretched that in the last video. So if you haven't yet done that and you have a high arch or a collapsed arch, go stretch your calf really good first, because that's going to set the stage to make some change for this next bit. So we've talked about muscle balancing in other videos. So if we're dealing with this joint, which has a lot of movement possibilities, but let's just break it down simply into flex and extend, or what's called plantar flex, dorsiflex. Your calf, which is a grouping of muscles, soleus, gastrocnemius, when they're shortened, they're essentially pulling this joint into a plantar flex position. And a lot of people have shortened calves. I find, especially for people who wear a heel or a high heel, this is going to be a really good video for you. But really, most everyone has short calf. And most people will find, especially if you're a driver, that your right calf is a bit more constricted. When I worked in New York where people don't drive, they didn't have the same problem, which is intriguing. Anyway, that's a side point. So we've already dealt with the calf. But if your calf is keeping you stuck or really pulled into an excessive plantar flexion, then what happens when we're living our day-to-day life on our feet? Well, then the compensating pattern has to move into the surrounding muscles. And what I've found is that it moves into what's called the foot inverters and everters, or pronators and supinators. But those specific muscles are this one here, called the tibialis anterior, which you'll notice this tendon here connects kind of here into the middle of your arch and pulls up just to the outside of your shin. This muscle is in charge of lifting the inside of your foot up, or supinating. And then you have this group called the peroneals, which are just outside of that, and they lift the outside of your foot up. So tight calves turn into one of two patterns in my experience. An excessive arch, which means a shortened tibialis anterior is pulling this and it's disengaged to this outside part of the foot. Or a flat foot, which means these have pulled up and disengaged your tibialis anterior. So we deal with them in similar ways. I'm going to move this chair, and this next bit is the piece for what you do if you have an excessive arch or an excessive lift in the foot. I'm going to have you take your foot, step it a little to the side. You're going to still have your weight over the foot that's under you, at least to start. And if you have that high arch, what we're going to do is going to have you, with a bent knee, sweep your knee in, and I want you to try to lift the outside of your foot up. And I'm going to have you do that kind of like your Elvis Presley. And what we're doing is we're training that muscle to begin to relax and this muscle to engage, so that by the time you check back into it, your arch should have settled a bit. That's if you have a high arch. Now, if you have a dropped arch, it's just the opposite. We'll still step that foot out, still stay the weight over the leg underneath you, knee a little bent, and this time we're sweeping your knee out, and we're lifting the inside of your foot up. And you can even kind of like scoop at the ground a bit. Imagine it's like an excavator and I'm just like digging up the dirt. I feel it really engaging through here. So remember, this is for the dropped arch. What we're doing is we're essentially engaging the muscles that lift our arch up. A little bit of extra you can put into it as you scoop up. You can begin to shift your weight a little bit into that foot, not a lot because we want it to feel safe, but that will just help to create more of an engagement because you're putting a little more weight into it. And then what you do is you'll walk it out, evaluate it, see how you feel. Most likely, if this is the right stretch for you and your body likes it, you'll feel a little bit more pep in your step. You'll feel a little bit more activity in your ankles, and most likely you will feel more stable as far as in your balance if you were to kind of do a one-leg stand. So give it a test, do a little evaluation before and after, give the moves a try, and tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your comments. If you know someone who has an excessively fallen arch or a high arch, but fallen arch is a bit more common, share this video with them. This could really be the freedom that they've been waiting for. And see what they think. Check in with them. Until then, we will see you in the next video.